Did you know that no emotion, no matter how intense, lasts longer than 90 seconds unless you feed it? Seriously, that firestorm of rage, the gut punch of embarrassment, even the sudden wave of sadness, all of it physically flushes out of your system in about a minute and a half. Not because you're a Zen monk, but because your biology is actually on your side. Here's what happens behind the scenes. An emotion gets triggered, your brain dumps a cocktail of stress chemicals, those chemicals race through your bloodstream, and then they're gone, poof. 90 seconds later, your body is chemically back to neutral. So why do we stay mad for hours or replay that one awkward comment for 3 years straight? Because your thoughts are doing the equivalent of hitting the replay button. Every time you reimagine the situation, your brain says, "Oh no, we're mad again? Got it, more chemicals incoming." You basically become the barista of your own emotional espresso shots. And this isn't self-help fluff, it's neuroscience. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor discovered this while studying the brain at Harvard, and also while surviving a literal stroke. So, not exactly a lightweight in the emotional awareness department. Next time you feel your anger rising or anxiety creeping in, don't immediately react. Pause. Take a breath. Now count to 90 while doing absolutely nothing. Don't fight the emotion, just watch it like it's a weird emotional weather pattern. You might feel heat in your chest, tightness in your jaw, or maybe your eyebrow twitches like a Disney villain. And then it fades. The chemical storm passes. You didn't suppress it, you didn't explode, you just gave it space to move through. That's the 90-second rule, and once you know it, you don't need to be afraid of your emotions anymore. You just need to stop feeding them snacks. How to reframe disappointment. Let's be honest. Disappointment is one of the most frustrating emotions. It shows up uninvited, makes itself at home, and whispers things like, "You're falling behind," or "You should be further along by now." But here's the twist. Disappointment doesn't actually come from the event itself. It comes from the gap between what you expected to happen and what actually happened. That promotion you didn't get, that one person who ghosted you, the goal you didn't hit, the thing itself isn't always the core issue. It's the gap between the movie in your head and the reality on your calendar. The good news is you control one side of that equation. And no, this isn't about lowering your expectations and pretending everything's fine. It's about reframing. Cognitive reframing is like taking your brain's most dramatic hot takes and running them through a more reasonable filter. Instead of spiraling into, "I'm a failure and this is proof," you pause and shift to, "Okay, this isn't what I hoped for, but what can I learn from it?" One perspective slams the door shut. The other opens a window. Let's say you didn't land the job you wanted. The default story is, "I'm not good enough." But a reframed version might be, "This one wasn't a fit. What can I tweak to make the next one mine?" And when your brain starts looping, because let's face it, it will, don't waste energy trying to shut the thoughts down. That's like trying to unsee a pink elephant after someone yells, "Don't think about a pink elephant." Instead, break the loop. Stand up. Touch something cold. Name 5 things you can see. Redirect your focus with intention. You're not trying to outrun the thought. You're just giving your brain something else to hold on to. Your mind is like a toddler with a microphone. Sometimes you just have to gently take it away and hand it a snack. Reframing isn't about pretending things are perfect. It's about shifting the lens so your setbacks don't define you, they guide you. You don't have to believe every first draft your brain writes. You can edit. And when you do, the story changes, and so does the outcome. Your emotional first aid kit. We've all got a physical first aid kit tucked away somewhere, full of bandages, aspirin, and those weird triangle cloth things no one ever uses. But how many of us have an emotional first aid kit? A plan for what to do when anxiety ambushes us out of nowhere, or when self-doubt decides to throw a surprise party in our brain at 2 a.m. Most of us just wing it. We scroll, we spiral, we Google how to stop thinking forever. But what if you had something ready, actually ready for those moments. Something that helps future you handle emotional chaos with the calm of a well-prepared adult, instead of, a raccoon trapped in a washing machine. An emotional first aid kit is a set of personalized tools you build when you're feeling good, so it's already in place when things get messy. Think of it as emotional time travel. You're sending support to your future self. And it's not complicated. Start by identifying the usual suspects: anxiety, overwhelm, sadness, guilt. Pick the one that shows up most often. Then match it with 4 categories of responses: a physical action, a sensory item, a mental reset, and a social lifeline. For example, for anxiety, your physical action might be 10 jumping jacks or a brisk walk. Your sensory tool could be a calming scent or a weighted object. Your mental reset might be a question like, is this happening right now, or am I time traveling to the worst-case future? And your social move? Texting that one friend who always reminds you you're not crazy. Or at least, not alone in the crazy. Store all of these in a note on your phone or write them down somewhere you'll actually look. But no, not now. Keep watching. We'll break it down later. This is exercise 1. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Even one go-to strategy per emotion is enough to start. This is your emotional go bag, your emergency backup plan when your thoughts are racing and your nervous system is screaming. Because let's face it, during a mental spiral, your brain is about as useful as a GPS that only yells you're lost and then shuts off. So build your kit now when things are calm, because emotional resilience isn't just about pushing through, it's about preparing smart. You wouldn't try to learn CPR while someone's choking, right? Same logic applies here. Set yourself up to thrive, not just survive. Nobody's thinking about you. You walk into a room, you trip a little, you feel like the whole world saw it. You imagine strangers whispering, friends judging, the ghost of your self-esteem groaning in the background. But here's the real twist. They probably didn't even notice.
What?
They were too busy wondering if their own fly was down, if they had spinach in their teeth, or if anyone noticed they said you too, when the cashier told them to enjoy the movie. Welcome to the spotlight effect, a psychological illusion that convinces you everyone is paying attention to your every move, when in reality, most people are just trying to survive their own internal chaos. Researchers at Cornell proved this in a hilarious experiment. They made students wear awkward, cringy t-shirts in public and then asked them to estimate how many people noticed. The students thought they were basically walking meme content, but the actual number of people who paid any attention? Barely anyone. Why? Because everyone's too wrapped up in their own world to really notice yours. It turns out that while we all think we're starring in a movie called My Life, the Epic Saga, everyone else is just trying to remember if they locked the front door.
Emotional damage!
Think about it. Can you recall a single awkward thing someone else did during a presentation, a meeting, or a party? No? That's because you were too busy obsessing over your own awkward thing. This is the spotlight effect in action. It convinces you that your every word, outfit, mistake, or twitch is being analyzed by a crowd of hypercritical judges. In reality, most people are just hoping no one noticed their own blooper reel. They're not focused on your shirt stain, your stumble, or your one weird laugh that only happens when you're nervous and drinking sparkling water. Understanding the spotlight effect is liberating. It pulls you out of the imaginary theater in your head and reminds you that most people are not watching your highlight reel. They're watching their own. And even if someone does notice something awkward about you, they'll forget it in 5 minutes. You won't, but they will.
Sorry.
So the next time your brain starts broadcasting a live report titled, "Everyone saw that and now you're doomed," just remember, most people are too busy wondering if they are doomed to notice anything about you. You're not under a spotlight. You're just in a room full of people who all think they are. Talk to yourself like you're not you. What if I told you that one of the most powerful tools for calming down, solving problems, and reducing anxiety is talking to yourself like you're someone else? I know it sounds like the beginning of a cartoon villain monologue, but stick with me. There's real science behind this. It's called third-person self-talk, and it's weirdly effective. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, you say, Chris is overwhelmed. Or instead of thinking, I can't handle this, you shift to, Maria has been through worse. She can figure this out too. It's such a small change, but it creates a massive shift in perspective. Because suddenly you're not drowning in the emotion. You're standing beside it. This technique creates what psychologists call psychological distance. You become the coach, not the player. And coaches, as we all know, can see the game more clearly.
Nice.
In fact, a study from Michigan State University showed that people who use third-person self-talk during stressful moments activate the rational problem-solving parts of their brain instead of the panic-driven emotional ones. Your brain literally treats your problem differently just because it sounds like it belongs to someone else. And let's be honest, you already do this for your friends. If your friend came to you saying, I feel like I'm failing, you'd never say, yeah, you probably are, pack it up. No, you'd give perspective. You'd remind them of what they've survived. You'd help them reset. This tool gives you access to that same supportive voice, but for yourself. Now, at first, it's going to feel a little ridiculous. You'll catch yourself muttering things like, Jake's got this, and your brain might respond with, bro, what are we doing? But push through it, because what you're really doing is stepping out of the emotional fog and giving your nervous system a chance to breathe. You're short-circuiting the panic loop and letting reason take the wheel. And over time, it starts to feel natural. It becomes your default script, your built-in coach. Also, quick side note, have you ever noticed how horribly we talk to ourselves? We say things we'd never say to another human. You idiot. Of course you messed this up. Why are you like this? Meanwhile, if your friend forgot their keys, you'd say, no big deal, happens to everyone. But your inner voice, it's like a mean roommate who never pays rent and constantly roasts you.
Damn!
Third-person self-talk gives you the power to rewrite that inner dialogue, to shift from shame to support. So next time your brain starts spiraling, don't just sit there. Step back. Talk to yourself like you would a friend. Use your name. Use you.
Just do it!
Let that distance give you perspective. Because sometimes the advice you need is already inside you. It's just stuck behind a wall of noise. Third-person self-talk is the key that opens the door. Resilience isn't a personality, it's a system. Like some people just seem built different, right? Like no matter what life throws at them, they stay calm, collected, and somehow always land on their feet. And we assume it's just who they are, that they were born with this magical quality called resilience. But here's the real truth. Resilience isn't a personality trait. It's not something you either have or don't. It's a system, a collection of small, intentional habits, tools, and mindset shifts that work together like gears in a machine to keep you steady when life gets messy. And just like any system, it's built, not found. You don't assemble it in the middle of a crisis. You build it before the storm hits, so when it does, you're not relying on willpower alone. Think of it like a mental emergency generator. You hope you never need it, but if the power ever goes out, you're so glad it's there. That generator is made up of a few key components. First, there's physiological regulation. Simple things like breathing techniques, cold exposure, or even posture that calm your body so your brain can follow. Then there's cognitive framing, how you interpret the challenges in front of you. Are they dead ends or detours, catastrophes or feedback? The meaning you assign shapes the actions you take. Next, you've got behavioral patterns, your automatic responses under pressure. Do you shut down and scroll for hours? Or do you grab your emotional first aid kit and move? And finally, there's social connection, the people who remind you of who you are when you forget. Not just vague advice like talk to someone, but actual names you trust, people you know you can call when things start to unravel. These 4 domains work together to create a kind of psychological armor. And the beauty is, you don't need to master everything at once. You just start with one piece, one tool. one habit you practice until it becomes second nature. Because systems don't need motivation to function, they just run. And when you're tired, stressed, or spiraling, your system will catch you. It will do the heavy lifting when you can't. That's the difference between winging it and being prepared, between hoping you'll survive and knowing you'll get through it. Think of it like upgrading the operating system for your brain, except instead of pop-ups and bloatware, you're installing real mental tools that make you faster, calmer, and more capable. And no, there's no remind me later button. So here's your next step. Pick just one idea from this video. The 90-second rule, the emotional first aid kit, reframing, third-person self-talk, whichever one resonated most. Practice it for a week.
Practice makes perfect.
Then add another, and another. You don't have to do it all at once, but every time you show up for yourself like this, you're laying down bricks. You're building a framework that will find you right when you need it most, because resilience isn't measured by how well you avoid storms. It's measured by how well you dance in the rain. Start small, stay consistent, and remember, the next time life throws something at you, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be ready.